Okay, I just took a shower, but I'm mad because I watched a video and now I need to talk about it. So there's something that people mention a lot on YouTube and D&D about the ever-present threat of death. When you are DMing and you are going through a traditional high fantasy D&D game, death, character death for your players is an important aspect of the game. You want the game to feel meaningful, you want choices to feel meaningful, and death is the ultimate consequence. It makes sense. However, death, player character death, does not need to be ever present. It just doesn't. In a standard epic fantasy type setting where players are growing gradually in strength, their HP values are going up and their AC is going up and their damage is going up, you don't need to always threaten to kill them. And I will prove it to you. Have you ever heard of Bloodborne, the critically acclaimed video game from like 2015? You might think that in Bloodborne there is an ever-present threat of death, right? You can die to a boss, they deal a bunch of damage. Usually whenever you are gaining levels and gaining health, the boss will deal proportional damage to you, right? But easier enemies can still kill you if you're in, like, you know, easier enemies can still kill you if you're screwing around and not paying attention. However, that is true in D&D already. You know that there's CR that goes up to like 30, right? Like big creatures that deal huge damage proportional to the amount of health that you would have as a player character. And on top of that, there are low-level enemies that still deal damage and do have a 5% chance of critically striking you no matter what, dealing double damage. So if you are stupid and not paying attention and screwing around, a goblin can still kill you. And in Bloodborne, if you are giga strong and you go back to a starting area and you're fighting the Yarnamites from just outside the gate, they're probably not going to kill you. You're so strong. You'd have to be AFK for them to kill you because they don't deal enough damage. You have really strong armor and you have a lot more health. On top of that, your competency as a player goes up. Same thing in D&D. Your competency as a character, the amount of abilities and tricks and things that you have, as well as your stats, also go up. So a goblin is not going to be an ever-present threat of death, similar to a basic Yarnamite to a high-level hunter. And it's the same thing with other stories and media. If you have ever watched Castlevania, the Netflix show, you will see there are fights that are really cool and engaging and exciting, but when Trevor and Alucard and Sypha are fighting a bunch of no-name demons, you're not sitting there going, "Oh man, are they gonna make it out of this one? Oh no, will they die?" No, they're not gonna die. That would be a terrible story. That'd be some boring garbage. Even in George R. R. Martin stories where death feels ever present, it's never just limp. It's always dramatic. It's never something that is, there is an unexpected element to it. But even then, the story is built to be dramatic. Epic fantasy is dramatic. Tangentially, if you want to have a more tangible present threat of death for player characters because you think, oh, well, their healing spells are really strong. Oh, they have Revivify. Oh, they have Resurrection. Sure, they might have those things. But rules as written, Resurrection and Revivify have a cost. It is easy as a GM to give them less money, so it makes those things harder to get to. You don't even need to homebrew that, dude. That's just baked in. You can give them less gold. The rules say you should have X amount of gold and valued items per level, but you just don't have to do that. D&D is not a game about balance. Not anymore. It's not a game about balance. It's a game about vibes and stories and playing a cool guy. Like, that's what it is. In fact, it has kind of always been that. It's never been about balance. You will fight a CR 15 creature in a low-level area if you go to the Dragon's Den at level 2. It's not balanced. It's thematic. It's appropriate. Now, what you want to do if you want to have a threatening level of combat, the easiest solution is to not roll damage for your creatures. There is an average damage listed for all the creatures. They have their dice value and the bonus that comes with it, and then there's an average number. There's nothing in the rules that says you can't just deal the max damage. And you might be like, that's not fair. You're supposed to roll dice. Where's that in the rules? Where does it say that you have to do that as the DM? Point to the sentence in the book where it says you're supposed to roll damage every time, because they give you an average, which you can use. In fact, there are parts of the book that encourage you, for expediency, to use the average as needed. So, if you want to make combat more threatening and dangerous, the best way to be threatening and dangerous is to knock a player out so that they cannot do anything. If they're unconscious, they don't have actions, and their ability to interact with the combat goes to 0. And the easiest way to do that, without any homebrew, is to just deal max damage. If you have a barbarian, a level 5 barbarian, let's do some hard math. Let's say level 10 barbarian with 20 con, and they roll 10 on every hit die, right? That's a lot of health. So 10 on every hit die, they're level 10. So that's 100 health plus 2, because you get your max hit die at level 1. So they have 102 health. Tack on 10 times 5, 50 HP for their constitution modifier. So it's 152 health barbarian at level 10. That's a pretty big barbarian. Now, if you have an appropriate CR monster that deals, let's say, 3d8 plus 4. 3d8 maxed out is 24 damage, plus 4 is 28 damage. 28 damage on a successful hit with 56 on a crit is going to be anywhere from 20 to 30 to 40% of the barbarian's health. It's going to chunk the barbarian. Now, imagine an average roll barbarian. That's a pretty sizable hit. That's 5 hits. That's 5 successful connections of a melee attack that it would take to put a really strong barbarian at level 10 down. And every character besides them is going to have less health. So just bump the damage up. You don't even need to alter it. Just max it out. That is a sizable increase to your ability to threaten the players without any mindless homebrew. You don't have to look up anything or pay for a PDF or do anything. Just look at the numbers in the book. And more than that, rewinding, the game is not about balance. If you're playing an epic fantasy game in D&D 5.5 or 2014, your players can feel strong. It's okay for them to roll a fight and to have it not be a life-threatening altercation. You can have them be Trevor and Sypha and Alucard just wiping the floor with jobber demons. Like, that's cool. That's cool. That's why you do those fights. You do those fights to feel like a hero. And then you fight Dracula. And then Dracula whips your shit. That's the game, baby. Take it easy. And have a good one.